Welcome back to another episode of the Behavioral Economics and Marketing Podcast series. This is Sandra Thomas-Comenole. Season 2 is all about behavioral economics and marketing leadership. Last week I discussed the concept of pent-up demand in the travel industry and the market research I conducted for my recently published white paper, Are We Experiencing Pent-up Demand in the Travel Industry? This week I will be talking about how travel companies and marketing professionals can leverage this pent-up demand for business growth. While this may seem very specific, the concepts discussed will be relatively transferable to many industries and across applications. Now, to give a little background on the situation. On March 11, 2020, the World Health Organization declared COVID-19 a pandemic. In the days and weeks to follow, life as we knew it came to a screeching halt as quarantine orders and safer-at-home campaigns became the daily news. In the midst of this, the travel and tourism industry was caught in a whirlwind of bad. New worldwide travel bookings steeply declined, while existing bookings were canceled, leaving marketing professionals and business executives to make hard decisions on messaging, staffing, and even closing. Through it all, travel and tourism organizations have held on to the idea that pent-up demand currently exists and travel will come back swiftly upon reopen. We are almost a year into the COVID-19 pandemic, and this battle cry is still being heard, which leaves one to question whether pent-up demand exists in the travel industry, the factors that affect travel demand through these times, and what the release of pent-up demand will look like for travel companies. My white paper explores the question, are we currently experiencing pent-up demand, through 3 data-driven studies. The first study lays groundwork for understanding and interpreting pent-up demand as it has existed in the past, and the 2 subsequent studies focus on travel destinations that have opened to tourist arrivals and the travel behavior exhibited as a result. One of the key findings in this research is that while there is pent-up demand in the travel and tourism industry, the real question is how will the diffusion of the pent-up demand release look for different types of travel, levels of travel, destinations, etc. It will not be the same for all sectors of the industry across destinations and source markets. The diffusion of the release of pent-up demand will be different for travelers from the European source markets to the USA source markets, from the Asian destinations to the African destinations, from budget travelers to the elite travelers, from hotels and attractions to air travel and across modes of transportation. It is crucial for travel companies and marketing professionals to understand the diffusion of this pent-up demand for their source markets, key demographics, and destinations during this time to be able to leverage and make the most of pent-up demand. So why do travel companies want to make the most of pent-up demand? Number 1. Depending on their source market and sector, the pent-up demand diffusion may not be as great as in other cases. For example, when Croatia opened its doors to USA travelers in July of 2020, less than 9,000 people showed up. While this number is a win for them comparatively to other European destinations during this time, it is still a relatively small number. Therefore, travel companies will want a bigger piece of the pie, so to speak. Number 2. Recoup lost revenue. During the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic of 2020, new worldwide travel bookings steeply declined while existing bookings were canceled, leaving travel companies across sectors lacking in revenue. Taking advantage of pent-up demand can help travel companies recoup a larger percentage of that lost revenue. And lastly, travel companies can elongate the growth curve through demand generation. So now that we have a basis for why travel companies will want to leverage pent-up demand, we can jump into how travel companies and marketing professionals can leverage pent-up demand for business growth. The following list are just a few ideas. For a more complete list of how to leverage pent-up demand in the travel industry, please download my latest brief, Leveraging Pent-up Demand. It's available on my portfolio. So jumping in, number 1, research. Try to understand how pent-up demand will diffuse in your source market, destination, and sector by studying similar markets that have opened. For example, a travel company that serves travelers from the USA to India, you may try to find other countries that have opened up to your source market that have similar qualities. In this case, you may try an African country that has opened, while keeping in mind that there are many differences between the two. You also want to understand the traveler demographics that are currently traveling from your source markets. In the research realm, you will also want to reassess your competitive landscape. The pandemic has shaken up the travel and tourism industry in many ways. Certain places, types of travel, levels of travel, etc., that weren't your competitor before are now a part of your competition. For example, in the past, USA travel providers for Croatia wouldn't have considered US national parks a part of their competitive landscape. But now, during the pandemic, many would-be international travelers are looking more domestically because it is considered a safer alternative. These substitutes and competitors are an important part of the travel landscape and should be considered thoroughly. Number two, collaborate. This is a great time to expand your network, but even more so, collaborate. Seek out local governments and lobbying organizations to support your efforts. Consider this from the perspective of your source markets and the destination. Get in touch with tourist boards and DMOs, consortia that you belong to, associations, etc., to see how you can band together. Reach out to local and national media outlets, pitch positive stories about travel. And consider cross-sector collaboration. The concept here is that it will take a village, literally, to rebuild travel. Cross-sector collaboration means that you will get multiple viewpoints on one topic, you will have a larger network to work with, and you will be able to create a stronger offering. Number three, target. Targeting your marketing efforts could never be more important. Continue to target based on demographics and psychographics, but take it a step further from self-selected targeting to behavioral-based targeting. Also, this is a perfect time for lead gen, especially in terms of pay-per-clicks and paid social media. The travel consumers that are searching for travel are not only open to hearing about travel, they are considering travel, planning future travel, and even booking travel. Number four, skill up and onboard. This is a great time for personal and professional development, both on an individual level and a company level. Is there a new skill or destination that you want to learn? Take a course, read a book, reconnect with your mentors. Lastly, it is important that you assess your personnel needs and be prepared. This may mean recalling employees that were on furlough, rehiring employees that were laid off, or completely new hires. In that case, it is important to start early as possible because of the amount of time it takes to onboard and train new employees. Think of it this way. You want to be able to offer a high quality of customer service and knowledge base to your clients. You can't do this if all of your employees are spread too thin. These were just an overview of some of the points in my latest brief, Leveraging Pent-up Demand, available on my portfolio. To read more about my research and findings, download my white paper, Are We Experiencing Pent-up Demand in the Travel Industry?, available on Amazon. Wrapping it up, understanding how we as humans make decisions is an important part of marketing and leadership. Behavioral economics is the study of decision making and can give keen insight into consumer behavior and help to shape your marketing mix. Pent-up demand is a buildup of demand for goods and services in an economy where consumers are unable or unwilling to make purchases to satisfy the demand at the present time. This generally will occur during times of economic uncertainty, such as a recession. In this episode, we considered ways in which travel companies can leverage pent-up demand through research, collaboration, targeting, and using this time to skill up and onboard new employees. Thank you for listening to another episode of Behavioral Economics and Marketing. This is Sandra Thomas-Comenole.